Hello, everyone, and good evening. I'm Abby, and a proud mother of 3 veterans. So welcome tonight to our Their Service, Our Promise, Veterans and Military Families virtual town hall. We are honored to partner with the Democratic Veterans Caucus of Florida and veterans from across our state and nation, elected leaders, advocates, and we'll hear from some community voices as well. So tonight is about action, to uplift the voices of those who have served and to stand with military families. So to kick off our program, I'm proud to introduce a retired Army veteran with 29 years of service who served a tour of duty in Iraq and has been a leader in the Volusia County for over 30 years. Please help me welcome the president of the Democratic Veterans Caucus of Florida, Danny Fuqua.
Good evening, everyone. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, everyone, and again, my name is Danny Fuqua. I am so proud to be here tonight, to come before you and to be part of this great organization tonight, to host in this town hall, military, family, and veterans town hall. Hosted in partnership with the Florida Democratic Party. We're here tonight because veterans issues matters now more than ever. For access to housing, health care, and mental health care, it is important that our veterans across the United States, and especially here in the state of Florida, our veterans deserve reliable support. And as Democrats, we are committed to make sure that we serve as a veteran, as we serve our nation, we deserve the best health care and the best benefits as possible. Tonight, you're going to hear from some powerful stories, from solutions, and also to how we could move forward and better, brainstorm and see how we can make our veterans health care and getting their benefits. And we're going to be talking about those things tonight. We have some dynamic speakers tonight. And tonight, I just want you to just get ready for an outstanding town hall meeting. Now, I am proud to introduce one of our speakers tonight, our next speaker. Nikki Fried is the former Commissioner of Agriculture, and now proudly serving as chair of the Florida Democratic Party. She is laser focused and reliable in rebuilding this party to elect Democrats across the state of Florida. We are so proud to have a leader such as Chair Nikki Fried, because someone who understands veterans issues, someone who knows that we need to make sure that we elect veterans, and not only just veterans, but make sure that we elect Democrats across the state of Florida so they can advocate for veterans support. None other than our chair, Please welcome Nikki Fried. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny, and thank you for everybody who is tuning in tonight. And first and foremost, thank you to our veterans and our active military and their families, because we all know that when you take that oath, it is not just you who is signing up to serve. It is your entire family, your spouses, your children, your parents. Serving in our military is a family affair. And I know that personally from not only my time. My grandfather was in the Navy, so heard all of his Navy stories from World War II. Throughout my entire college and right after law school, my significant other was also Navy JAG. So we were going back and forth in Pensacola to San Diego, and to eventually he being commissioned and stationed out in Japan. So our military families are so important, are such a part of the livelihood and the fabric of our state and, of course, of our nation. We've got over 1.4 million veterans that live here in our state, and that is not to include their families and obviously all of our service members that are currently serving in our military. And here is a moment in our country where we're seeing our veterans that are being fired from the administration, who promised that we as a country promised that when they would come back, that we would be there for them, whether it's for job opportunities, for career advancements, for healthcare access. And even in another personal story, unfortunately, we lost my grandmother about 2 months ago. And it was promised to my family that when my grandfather passed away, that the VA was going to pay for the tombstone for my grandmother as a spouse of a veteran. And unfortunately, we are now not able to even get through to the VA. So we each have stories like this. When I was Commissioner of Agriculture, one of the first things that I did was create a Veterans Affairs Director inside of the Department of Agriculture, because I know that the connection between agriculture and our veterans is a commitment to serve, to give back. And so every single month, as a member of the Florida Cabinet, I brought forth resolutions recognizing a veteran who is serving in the ag community at this point, whether they're farmers or ranchers or just working on a farm and a ranch. This is what we have to do to continue to recommit ourselves to those who fought for our liberties and our rights. So thank you so much for being on tonight. Thank you to all of our veterans who are willing to participate in this town hall, and know that our veterans and our active military are part of the democratic ecosystem. They're part of our family, and we will continue to stand up and fight for them like they have fought for us. So thank you, Danny, for this opportunity, and I pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Chair Fried. And also tonight, I have the honor to now introduce our moderator for tonight. Will Atkins recently retired from the United States Air Force after serving 22 years, and he recently retired. And so he also had a little over 6 deployments. His last deployment was to Afghanistan. We are honored to have him lead tonight's discussion. Please help me welcome Colonel Will Atkins.
Hey, Danny, thanks a lot, and welcome to everyone that is on the line with us. Team FDP, Chair Fried, thanks so much for partnering with the Democratic Veteran Caucus of Florida to organize this town hall. And again, special thanks to all the veterans, the military families, the supporters that are online with us tonight. We've got a great lineup. You're going to hear from veterans and supporters and those who served and their military families. And throughout the night, you're also going to hear about ways that you can stay engaged and get involved and help us out. And I am pleased to introduce our first speaker for tonight, which is Florida State Representative Deborah Tendrich. She is a mother, a nonprofit founder, and a proud representative for Florida House District 89, which is down in Palm Beach County. And she's also served previously as the president of the Palm Beach County Caucus for the Democratic Veterans Caucus of Florida. She is an advocate, a champion for veterans' healthcare benefits, job opportunities, housing solutions, you name it. Everyone, please welcome Representative Deborah Tendrich. Okay. Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with Representative Tendrich. So I'm going to move on to the next speakers and we'll come back. So our next set of speakers is Rachel and Alexander Vindman. You might remember Alexander Vindman as a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, former Director of European Affairs at the National Security Council. And you may remember that he testified before Congress regarding the Trump-Ukraine scandal, which ended up resulting in Trump's first impeachment. Trump retaliated by removing him from the National Security Council and stalling his promotion to colonel. His wife, Rachel, is a passionate advocate and podcaster, and together they speak powerfully on behalf of democracy. So please welcome Rachel and Alexander Vindman.
Rachel, you're on.
Hi, it's so great to be here. For those of you who don't know, we've lived in Florida for a little over 2 years, and we're really happy to, I would say, get settled, but we just had an unexpected major home renovation and just got some boxes delivered on Friday, which was, I'm just going to be honest, a bit triggering after so many moves. But I was like, oh, it's only 80 boxes. We can do this. And none of them had those little mover stickers that they put. So Alex maybe numbered them when we took them. He's like, they can't just take our stuff without an inventory. So this is like totally, I mean, he'll never get over that. But, last week on Memorial Day, it really hit hard with everything that's going on in our country. And Alex wrote a beautiful post on Substack, and I read other people's posts, and it just really hit home for me. We could be silent. A lot of people who were served with Alex, who testified, who were in the first impeachment or caught up with Trump in so many different ways, they have kind of done what they needed to do for their family. I'm not going to fault them, but that's not the path that Alex chose or me as well. And it's because of those people that we all know that gave the ultimate sacrifice. To me, if we stop fighting, if we stop being involved, it really cheapens and lessens the sacrifice that they gave for all of us, for democracy. So that's kind of what's been really fueling me. And I've been thinking about for the past, I don't know, almost, 10 days or something since Memorial Day, because it's hard. I mean, every day it's hard. The assault on our rights and freedoms, but just the assault on the military. I mean, Hex's just bullshit today about the Harvey Milk and changing the name. And then, all this stuff, it's meant to mess with us in addition to our rights and our healthcare and our privileges and everything. So it's really, really hard. And I think we have to remember what's important and why we do this. And everyone on here understands the sacrifice and service and why we do it. So I'm just thank you for being here and for wanting to be involved in a time when a lot of people don't. So Alex is laughing because I've probably taken up too much time, but
well, that's all the time we have.
Okay.
No. So look, I'm really happy. I keep thinking about recently there've been questions about my future plans and politics and stuff like that. And
is Nikki still on?
Yeah, she's still on.
Oh gosh, okay, we can't say it.
So and I guess I keep thinking about the fact that Florida is the first place that I've actually chosen to live since going off to university. After that, it was orders after orders. At one point, Rachel alluded to the fact that we moved so much. We moved 11 times in 10 years. Wasn't running from the law, and we get to live in beautiful Florida. And frankly, we get the honor and privilege of pitching in. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome that we were able to do this Veterans and Military Families virtual town hall, but we also have the likes of the party chair here and other electeds joining us. And it's awesome that our issues are the party's issues, and that we can be awesome messengers for both our own issues and the fact that we're part of the community and talking about our lens, how we committed to national security and defense, and how our civil liberties are under attack, our fellow citizens' civil liberties are under attack, due process is under attack, people are just getting picked up off the streets. So yes, it's about our own issues. The fact that the VA is about to lose 83,000 jobs that's going to affect our services, our care. But it's also our voices critically to contribute to the fact that the American public respects us and wants to hear our views on issues. And I get to do that with Vote Vets, where we're launching numerous campaigns with regards to our robust messaging platform, supporting candidates around the country. We're going to be hitting hard the VA cuts and the fact that Trump is using the military. We all hate parades, but using the military to glorify himself and throw a party for himself. And it's just a privilege to be able to use our voice and continue to serve and contribute to our national security.
We've got a lot to say. Yeah. I also want to point out, just for those of you who don't know, the Veterans and Military Family Council and Group for Florida is one of the most organized in the entire country. It is a shining example. They have not only a chair in Danny, but many people under him, and it's very organized and very robust. And there is a great grassroots organization that exists that you can easily plug into in your area.
And I'll just mention that we could be the seed of taking back Florida. We could be the seed. The veterans could be the seed of winning back Florida for the Democrats.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. And Rachel, I appreciate you bringing up the Harvey Milk thing. I mean, it seems like every time we turn around, there's some other stupid thing coming from the administration, whether it's Harvey Milk, Jackie Robinson, taking down the Enola Gay because it has the word gay in it, right? It seems like the administration's always worried about kind of the stupidest stuff. But thank you both for your comments. And now we're going to kick it back to Representative Deborah Tendrich. Rep, over to you.
Can you hear me?
Got you loud and clear.
All right. Well, hello. Good evening. I'm Representative Deborah Tendrich. I actually serve District 89, which is Palm Beach County. I am also the president of the Democratic Veterans Caucus in Palm Beach County and a big supporter of our veterans. I wanted to just kind of let you know, I'm actually in Tallahassee right now. We got called back for the budget conferencing. And so we're here now in Tallahassee. And so I wanted to make sure I jumped on. But, I really think it's important for me to have shown up, because as your state representative, I'm proud to stand for the heroes, who stood up for us. Florida is home to so many veterans. I believe it's about 1.5 million veterans. And we have one of the largest veteran populations in our entire country. And many of them live right here in our community. We have a huge population in my county as well. By day, I actually run a nonprofit where we feed families who can't afford to eat. And through my nonprofit, I actually see the struggles that veterans face every single day. In fact, 1 out of 10 families we serve is a veteran household. And that means that there's just far too many veterans who wore the uniform for our country and are now standing in food lines trying to feed their families. And they fought for our freedom, and now they have to fight just to afford food. Another big concern I hear when I meet veterans is mobility and being able to afford transportation to go to the store, visit family, get to doctor's appointments, or just get around town, go to the beach or go to a local park, just go to an outing. But basic things that many of us take for granted are often harder when you're on a fixed income. So I actually have a budget request that will allow veterans in Palm Beach County. It's a pilot program called the Patriot Pass for our county that would actually allow the veterans to increase mobility in Palm Beach County to ride public transportation for free. So I'm really excited to see what happens during our budget conferencing. The request isn't that large, but it's a really important request. And it's more about getting from place to place and restoring access, independence, and dignity. And we do have a responsibility to make life easier for those who've already sacrificed so much for us. Our veterans also deserve easier access to healthcare, mental health and suicide prevention, housing, transportation, and mobility, which we'll find out the next few days if that actually passed, was accepted, employment and reentering civilian life, assistance navigating the system, which can be extremely complicated, and community connections. These are things that I'm actively fighting for. And when I see legislation, I bring it to the attention if I think it could harm the veteran community. And if it obviously will support the community, I'm going to make sure that I'm fighting for it. when I am in Tallahassee and in my district, I do make sure all those needs and concerns are heard, are relevant, and making sure that our veterans are protected. It's a priority for me. Our veterans fought for our lives, meaning that their basic needs should never be a battle. And we promise to never leave a soldier behind, and that promise doesn't expire when they come home. So I wanted to just kind of bring some of those to the forefront, because those are things that I'm actively working on and fighting for. But I also wanted to kind of shift a little bit, because I've recently had a few conversations with some World War II veterans. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because through our conversations, they have spoken and shared their concern about how they risked their life to defeat the Nazi regime and to liberate the world from the horrors of anti-Semitism. And they saw firsthand, the dangers of unchecked hate. But now, in 2025, that same hatred is creeping back into our own communities. We've seen it in a terroristic attack on our own grounds, targeting Jews in Boulder, Colorado. We saw it when a gunman opened fire outside the Capitol Jewish Museum and killed 2 people after yelling "Free, Free Palestine" and murdered 2 people in the process. For our Jewish World War II veterans, and for all those who fought to stop the Nazis, this resurgence of anti-Semitism is a painful reminder that the fight has never actually ended. And if we ignore it, we dishonor the legacy. And so they basically came to me and we were talking, and we wanted to make sure that they felt supported, because right now they felt that some of the work that they did was in vain, because they see that me as a Jewish, and I'm bringing this forward because I also have had personal attacks against myself as well. We have a lot of our colleagues up here in the legislature that are Jewish that also feel it. And we want to make sure that everyone feels included and supported. We fought for that, to be able to be here in the United States, be here in Florida, and live and be who we are and be accepted without, fighting that hate. And so we're still in that fight. I do want to let everyone know, across the board, I am fighting for housing. I'm fighting for clean air, clean water. I'm fighting for, just a better quality of life, a more affordable life for us to be able to have and appreciate the entirety that our state has to offer. I am very much involved to make sure that, people have access to their basic needs and things that are trickling down. I will say the veteran community will be hit hard with some of these federal cuts as well. And on the state level, I'm having active conversations to make sure that we are being a little proactive on making sure that we have some things in place to catch some of those veterans when they fall and when they succumb to those federal cuts. We have food cuts. We have the biggest hunger relief effort in our entire nation being cut. We have Social Security. We have health insurance cuts. We have education cuts. And when you're looking at all that, that does trickle down to our veterans and then to everyone else in our state. So just so you know, I am being very proactive in these measures. I am engaging. I'm making sure that the veterans know that they can come to me and speak with me. And I'm very making sure that, we do have a larger voice that is being amplified through not just myself, but through each and every one of you and throughout the entire state. And you have my full commitment to continue to keep rolling up my sleeves and doing the work and making sure that we don't let this fall by the wayside. But this is extremely critical. I know I was only given a few minutes to talk, but I'm not sure if there's any questions or if I should open it up to anything else.
No, that's great, Rep. And I appreciate you bringing up, later this week is the anniversary of D-Day, right? The last time that we had to go kick some Nazi ass. And, it seems like with the new administration, the Nazis are coming out of the woodwork and we're just going to have to go do it again.
Yeah, I will say that it's not only Nazis that are doing that, but we have kind of on both sides, we have this, we were kind of talking about this kind of horseshoe on the right side, we have the Nazis and the white supremacists. And then on the left side, we do have, the pro-Palestinian movement that's beyond just, the pro-Palestinian. It actually goes into Jew hatred. And in fact, just to put this out there, the majority of the attacks against me have been from, the Democrats. I've actually had someone wish death upon me and call me a Jewish murderer because of what's happening overseas, and it's come and hit me. And it has been from, people, from our party. And so, I think that we also have to look that everyone is guilty, both Republicans and Democrats. Diehard Democrat, never changing. And I want to make sure that the Jewish community also feels supported. And that was part of the conversation with those World War II veterans too, that I have spoken with, and even those in the Korean War. And we had those conversations that they see that the issue is, they fought for the Nazis and they see the anti-Semitism spiraling, but the underlying hate from back then never died. The same conversations are coming up, blaming Jews on economic downfall, blaming Jews on pretty much everything. And they even did this like litmus test, right? Where they went and said, did you hear that Jews are going to start doing tickle torture? And everyone's like, oh no, they're doing that now. And it's just kind of being like Outlander said, they believe anything, right? That is the Jews doing it. So I think the underlying issue needs to be expanded on. But that was a really interesting conversation about that but we do need to continue that fight for sure.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time today, Rep. And we've got a long lineup, so we're going to move on to the next speaker. And next up, I'm going to introduce Jessica Denson, who is a former Trump campaign staffer, who became a leading whistleblower, who was able to negate essentially the illegal non-disclosure agreements in court. And right now she's also the host of a pro-democracy YouTube show called Lights On. So please welcome Lights On with Jessica Denson.
Thank you so much, Will. Thanks for having me. I'm really honored to be here with some old friends and new friends. Thanks, Vanessa, for bringing me into this today. I also have been involved in a grassroots movement called 14th Now, which is predicated on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. We cannot lose sight of the fact that this egregious administration that is totally violating the honor and service and sacrifice of our veterans is constitutionally disqualified from taking office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. One of our original 14th Now protesters framed it this way, and I thought it was really good. He said, it's kind of like having a Confederate general assume the presidency after the Civil War. That is the state of affairs that we are living in right now. So not just are all of the downstream attacks from this illegal administration harmful and impeachable and egregious, but they are foundationally illegal based on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So that movement that I started began in early January. We tried to get Congress, all members on both parties, to honor their oath and reject his presidency based on that fact. As you all know, I don't break any news to you. Nobody in either party did that, but we continued this movement and had an extraordinary Veterans March on March 14th on the National Mall, which was, I believe, the largest protest to date. And I was so honored to have so many veterans show up that day. Not a single person in the audience was resistant to our messaging, which is this administration must be removed now by any and all constitutional means. I think that the more that message is reiterated and explicit in our protest movement, which is so powerful, and I'm going to be continuing, I am continuously involved in this. I'll be involved in some of the D-Day protests and June 14th and, keeping people active. And I'm so grateful for the voices just that we've heard today. But to the extent that we are explicit in our demands that this administration needs to be removed, that this is not normal. It is not okay to have a president who is violating court orders and sending people to the equivalent of concentration camps, because that is what sending people to these CCOT prisons without due process is. Talk about Nazis and fascism. And that we are not yet at the point of impeachment is just a dishonest conversation. So I am pressuring and encouraging all of my friends in the activism space, and there's been so much wonderful realization of this, to not lose the momentum, to not let the energy, the outrage, the rightful indignation of the complete insult to our veterans that this administration is from a man who dodged the draft, bone spurs, a Russian asset, to not let him pass the gate, and to look at that historical perspective that the representative was speaking about and understand when we are under assault and a democracy is under assault like ours is right now, the window is very short. The window is very short to combat this and to address the damage and to stop the bleeding. And the longer we wait, i.e., can't wait for the midterms, we have to take action now. The longer that we wait, the harder it is to reverse that damage. Generations it may take to reverse that damage if we have the opportunity. So I'm so grateful for the activism in this space. I'm so grateful for the clarity of our veterans. I just want to speak one thing, because the irony cannot be lost on you of the actual anti-Semitism that we see, and then from Donald Trump, from the right wing, from MAGA, and then their exploitation of the issue of anti-Semitism to criminalize free speech, to violate people's First Amendment rights, to take away the rights of Palestinian peaceful protesters to speak out in this country and not be subjected to being imprisoned for no just reason. So there is a lot of duplicity in here, and that we have to really address. And I'm so grateful, especially for the Jewish Voices for Peace, Rabbis for Peace, the people in the Jewish community who refuse both the Palestinian and Jewish communities, who respect all the dignity of all people, of the Palestinian people who are literally being gunned down as they line up for food and try to get aid, and the hostages who have been subjected to the terrorism of both Hamas and their partner, Benjamin Netanyahu, and this corrupt Israeli government that is fascist, much like Donald Trump. So we can all come together and have clarity on these issues, stand for human rights, stand for the sacrifices of our veterans who fought on those historic battlefields, and not let this corrupt criminal administration pass one more day by exerting the power that we have, demanding that our Congress members, if you're watching this on my channel, the phone number for the congressional switchboard is down there below. Demand that your congressional leaders, whether they're Democrat or Republican, honor, if they want to speak about honoring veterans, demand that they put action to meet those words and take a stand against Donald Trump's attacks through his big, beautiful bill, by supporting articles of impeachment. Demand that they put their names on the line in respect of our service members who have put it all on the line for our Constitution.
Thanks, Jessica. And, I appreciate you bringing up the 14th Amendment. I think that's part of the reason why Trump is trying to get rid of, birthright citizenship, which is also incorporated in that 14th Amendment, because he knows that that's probably the one way, constitutionally, one of the quickest ways, perhaps, that we could get him out of office. So I appreciate your time and your words. And next, I'm going to be bringing up my good friend Phil Ayer, who served 26 years in the U.S. Navy, rising to the rank of commander. He now leads the Air Force PAC, working to engage voters across the state. Everybody, please welcome Commander Phil Ayer.
Hey, thank you very much, Will. And you're right. So we call that a Navy Mustang, enlisted and officer service. I just want to say thank you for everybody, and to be welcomed back and continuing to be part of the Democratic family here in Florida, working for change across the nation. Look, and it's also great to be following Jessica Denson. Oh my gosh, what an amazing honor that is. And to be after me, the amazing Allison Gill is on up. So most of my 26 years was operational. My family and I moved around, and we were on the line every day, standing up to the former Soviet Union, holding it through the Cold War, fighting Desert Storm and the Adriatic Wars and terrorism and lots of other actual operations. Let me tell you that the focus of the reason why people are veterans is just as important as anything else that we can talk about here. And that reason is born in our democracy, in our Constitution, upholding all of those things that make America great and a force of good in the world. And when that is under attack, as it is now under attack from this administration, we veterans need to stand up. And I'm calling on more retired veterans, especially the senior enlisted retired, and especially the senior officers retired. Think of what we do need. We need another, revolt of the admirals to stand up, to mentor the active duty force, with their words and with their education to say, hey, do not do anything illegal. Stand up when an order comes down that is going to violate posse comitatus or many of the other provisions of the law. Stop it. Just stop it. So it's leadership that the American people expect from their military, and it's leadership that needs to continue to be amped up as it's going slowly, in my view, too slowly, from our retired general officers and general and flag officers. So we need leadership. We need to recognize that that actions speak louder than words, and to that end, I have, as you said, Will, kindly, that we formed a political action campaign where we are applying military organization and firing for effect using data into the special election areas of the 1st Congressional District. We had a big hand in that. We are now the Air Force PAC. It's a PAC named after my former campaign. In one of the 3 special elections here in the state of Florida, House District 3. And let me tell you about House District 3 and why we're in it. It is a R+56 district. Yet a young Navy veteran is running as the candidate for the Democratic Party, and we are helping that candidate do much better than he would otherwise. Why? Because we are helping those people around him, the leaders in the area, find and identify voters and go after them and get them to the polls. That's going very, very, very well. Anybody wants to help, look for us, and you can help us call voters and help make that connection. And then watch on the 10th of June when that happens and see how well young Dondre Wise has done in the House District 3 race. So again, we need to have it's the veterans who are going to come to the aid of other vets, the aid of our democracy, whether they vets or civilians, and our families are going to be there as well. And we're going to be there for each other. We're going to be there to pull the parties together, both Republicans and Democrats. That's the role of military veterans, for our country first and our parties respecting both and going all in for our ideals. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Phil. When you're talking about the revolt of the generals, right after, in the post 9/11 years during Iraq and Afghanistan, the first people that were running for office were Democrats who were, out there speaking out, and they called them the Fighting Dems. And, it's time that we kind of took back that national security and patriotism mantle, because we're the ones really that are standing up for the Constitution these days. So I appreciate your words, Phil. Next up, Dr. Allison Gill is a Navy veteran who spent over a decade helping active duty service members and veterans get timely access to health care. She now hosts multiple award-winning podcasts focused on news and politics and justice. You may know her as Mueller, She Wrote, but please welcome Dr. Allison Gill.
Thanks, Will, and thanks to my shipmate, Phil Ayer. That was great to hear you speak today, and everybody who's on this call. And I want everyone to know, even though I was stationed in Orlando at Naval Nuclear Power Training Command for just under 2 years, unlike Trump's head of FEMA, I know what hurricane season is. After that, I worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs for over a decade. I'm a disabled vet myself. I was there during the wait list issues in 2013 and 2014 that led to President Obama, not President Trump, signing the Veterans Choice Act. And I can promise you that long wait times and problems at the VA with care are not because the VA is overstaffed. Okay, I want you to think about all the jobs you've had for a second. And tell me if you can think of one job you've had where you thought, man, I wish we didn't have this many staff. We just have too many people. No, that is not what happens most of the time, because the wealthy don't want to pay their fair share, don't want to pay a living wage, or because Republicans want to gut life-saving programs, earned benefits, to give themselves and their donors tax breaks. We end up short-staffed at places like the Department of Veterans Affairs and across the government. And that's always been true for places like the VA and for veterans and for care. So the magical thinking that firing VA staff is going to help veterans is ridiculous. Unlike Alex Vindman said, and Rachel, we're looking at 83,000 people being fired from the Department of Veterans Affairs. And don't forget the hundreds of thousands of people that could lose their jobs, and some already have, but could lose their jobs in the upcoming rifts. 30% of our federal workforce are veterans. They have sacrificed, they have served this country, and they wanted to continue that service, that public service. We have the VA now, mental health professionals jammed in a room with 20 other people trying to provide telehealth, risking our privacy. We've seen the gutting of the Veterans Suicide Hotline. I seem to remember a time when people in this country that were elected representatives, even Republicans, cared about the fact that we were losing 22 veterans to suicide every single day. Wait times for appointments are increasing. I am waiting longer to get my prescriptions in the mail, and now they want to privatize the post office. Hold times at call centers are increasing. And by doing this, by cutting these jobs and by putting veterans out of work, along with our other federal workforce folks, veterans are going to die. The wait lists are going to go back up. We're going to see the same problems that we saw in 2013. And that's why we have to support Democrats in 2026 and beyond to protect not just our veterans, but all Americans when it comes down to it. They want to gut SNAP, food assistance, in the billionaire bailout bill. That's what I call it. I think there are somewhere upwards of 40,000 active duty service members and more veterans that rely on food assistance. So they would just be, I don't know, taking food out of the mouths of children of our service members and veterans. And that is just unconscionable. So, you know, during the first Trump administration, when I worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs, they investigated my podcast and then they drummed me out of my federal job. But they don't have second level thinking. They aren't very smart, because that got me out from under the Hatch Act about 8 months before the 2020 election. And I was able to raise $500,000 to help elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And if Republicans are allowed to go forward with the massive reductions in force and taking jobs away and food away from our veterans and active duty service members, they are going to find themselves faced with an army of angry veterans, unbound by the Hatch Act, ready to take back their government. So we've done it before as veterans. We'll do it again, and we'll continue to protect the American people and the Constitution. And I just want to thank you so much for having me today. It's truly been an honor.
Dr. Gill, thanks a lot. Appreciate your words. Next up, it is my privilege to introduce two remarkable leaders and tireless advocates for veterans. Now, the first, we're going to hear from Armando Grundy Gomez, who I haven't seen in about 10 years since my time back in my Alachua County days. But he's a proud U.S. Army veteran, served in the prestigious 82nd Airborne. Today, he serves as the president of the Democratic Black Caucus of Florida, and he continues to lead with the same courage and commitment that he brought to military service. And then following Armando, we're going to have Keith Richter, a proud Marine Corps veteran and lifelong servant to this country. He's a 100% disabled Desert Storm veteran, served 8 years as a Marine sergeant and aircrew member on Huey and Cobra aircraft. So please join me in welcoming Armando Grundy Gomez, followed by Keith Richter. Armando, the stage is yours, brother. You're muted, Armando.
Hey, Will, I wanted to ask you a question real quick because I know it's important. Good to see you, by the way, again.
Yeah, good to see you, brother.
It's important when we talk about this place and space with as veterans that we don't get entangled and interweave with global issues, because I just don't want this to become a thing. When we're talking about veterans, it's a very serious thing. We should talk about veterans. And I just think that sneaking in other issues that are unrelated or not germane, to veterans is unfortunate and really takes away from the things that go on with veterans. There are global conflicts all over the globe. We should not be putting them in here, and it's not really cool. So I want to just point that out to you as an aside. That said, I want to talk about it. I know everybody wants to talk about this administration and this ideologue. I want to come and center the space about what it is to be a Black veteran in this place and space. I heard the lady from our fellow veteran, Allison from Orlando, say everything is fine, everything is great. It was great under Democrats, or was not so great under Republicans. Our experience as Black veterans has not been great under either or. So the experience under the Obama administration was a little better, but not great. And it was just as bad as it was under George W. Bush, when veterans were told, there's nothing wrong with you, go home. So I want to talk about, since somebody brought up the issue of Palestine, when Black veterans are facing this, when we come to fight for this country and we're being ignored per capita, and per capita, veterans that look like me have fought for this country dating back to the origination of this country. And so I want to center this conversation that I don't hear anybody bringing up, and it's people that look like me. And I know that that's not a popular thing. And like, oh man, we're looking at the racial lens. No, we're being entitled and denied our entitlements. And regardless of who's in the administration, insert name here, doesn't matter. I hate to, I know we're Democrats, but we need to speak truth to power. And sometimes we need to take our trash to the curb. When it comes to dealing with veterans issues, I am unabashedly a pro-veteran advocate, regardless of what you have behind your name. Well, what I do find interesting is I've had just as many D's behind their names that didn't come advocate for veterans like me. And that's not the question you want to hear today. But guess what? We as veterans really need help. I went to the VA today, and it was still abysmal. And it was abysmal 20 years ago when I was serving. So this is not a question of just leadership. There's lots of leadership opportunities. There need to be real policy reforms and not performative ones. Performative ones are what we're dealing with. Regardless, I could go and tell you, I talked to a Democratic congressman, say, hey, why don't we have TRICARE for all veterans? Because we have veterans that have chronic and acute needs that need care, or somebody like me that almost committed suicide. And did anybody, I could tell you, I've had equally on both sides. Both are culpable. What we need to understand in this place and space is it's important not to put what our ideology is, it's to get the work done for the work's sake and put ego aside. Sure, we can blame this person and that person, but it all started somewhere and somebody has to fix it. Do I think that this administration and he that should not be named be talked about? No. But I can tell you, I've had Democratic congressmen ignore many Black veterans that look like me. Yes, Democrats. Do I hear you all holding them accountable? No. So listen, I know it is convenient when we're on this call to say we're all great and we have done nothing wrong, but that's just not true. It's not. And so I have never done an illegal drug in my life. I've never smoked anything in my life, but I've been a homeless veteran. I've almost committed suicide. So I know what it's like to struggle with things like PTSD. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like to be hungry. And I'm not going to sit up in here and say that everything is copacetic just because it's somebody in our same party. That's just not true. So maybe it is for certain folks. I won't take away their stories. Every veteran has a different story in this same place. But I can tell you that their leadership creates opportunities. We need to elect leaders, not egos. We need to elect people that are going to put policy and do the work for the work's sake. And I have yet to see that. So if you all have an answer to a Democratic leader that has been effective for veterans, I will be open to hearing from you because I have yet to see them. And I'm just being straight up. I know that's not what you all want to hear today. But guess what? That's been my lived experience as a Black veteran in these United States. And going back to my grandfather, who fought in Vietnam, who also fought in World War II. And I can tell you ones that fought in the Revolutionary War. My family has been involved in conflicts for this country dating back. So we love this country. But I want to be crystal clear. We need to be advocates for veterans, regardless of your color, regardless of who you love, regardless of where you come from. We just need to do the work for veterans. And guess what? It's not getting done, folks. Hate to tell you. So that's just my experience. I don't want to take away from anybody else's experience. And I digress with that, Will. Sorry to get on a soapbox, but I just want to speak truth to power today. Okay? Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate that, Armando. Part of the reason why we're doing this is to make sure that we keep veteran issues front and center, that we make sure that the Florida Democratic Party and all of us therein continue to fight for veterans and of all colors, of all shapes and sizes and everything else, brother. I appreciate your passion. Congrats on newly elected state president for the Democratic
Thank you. Thank you so much, Will.
You bet, man. All right, next up, Keith Richter. Are you up there, Keith?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening.
My name is Keith Richter, a proud Marine veteran with multiple service-connected disabilities and the chairman of the Hendry County DEC. I am honored to have been asked to speak at this event today. Our country has the greatest fighting force the planet has ever seen in the U.S. military. America's great freedoms and rights have been secured by the blood and lives of our warriors for the past 250 years. At any given time, about 0.4% of Americans serve as on active duty, and there's only 6.1% of the country's adults are veterans. That is a very small sliver of the population who tote the line for America and the American people. My family is one that has fought for freedom as officers and enlisted in an unbroken line back to the Union in the Civil War and have been in every major conflict the USA has fought since. We have lost lives and bodies in service to this country and know that freedom is not free. When a young man or woman joins the military, no matter what their MOS, they are basically writing a blank check to the U.S. government for up to and including their lives. This trust must go both ways, meaning the government has an obligation to take care of these warriors when they give what the country asks of them. Our current administration is failing at this obligation on many fronts. As a person who has used the VA for their health care, along with my Marine wife and brother since 1993, we are seeing some disturbing things happening. First, and the most obvious, is the number of people working at the desks in the clinics, checking in and making appointments for veterans. There used to be 5 or 6 people working at this department and desk, and now there are only 2 and 3. Checking in is becoming a long process because they're on the phone with veterans trying to make their appointments and also trying to check the people in showing up for them. Errors are occurring, and veterans are the ones being affected. The Biden administration passed the PACT Act in 2022, which opened up many sick and injured veterans to a clear path to a service-connected disability and evidence intake for their claims. I'm a veteran who benefited from this legislation. Of course, it caused a spike in claims and backlogs became evident. Trump's VA has a track record of losing the evidence when it goes before an arbitrator. If no new evidence is in the file when a higher claim review is done, it is automatically denied. This exact thing happened to me this month, and a claim I've been fighting for the last 38 months now has to start over. I was distraught, to say the least. On top of that, could you imagine being in a crisis and reaching out for help only to have the crisis line be down due to Department of Government efficiency cuts? Community care is now being pushed on veterans due to personnel shortage, and as one who's used both, I find civilian health care wanting. It is unacceptable for the people who guarantee our freedom. They deserve better. We must hold them accountable and make them do better. Thank you for your time, and I'm honored to speak with the people who have been on here tonight.
Thanks a lot, Keith. And it's awesome to see a fellow vet leading the Hendry County DEC. Thanks for your words. And now for the folks that are watching and listening from home, we've got 2 special guests that are coming in from via video. We have Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and former State Representative Tom Keene. Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz has served South Florida in the U.S. House for more than 20 years, and she's been a fierce advocate for veterans and first responders for her entire tenure. Tom Keene's a 21-year Navy veteran, former state representative, and a leader in aerospace training. We're going to bring up first Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and then Representative Keene. Go ahead and cue the video.
Good evening. I'm Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, representing Florida's 25th District. Before I begin with Memorial Day just behind us, my deepest gratitude goes to those who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our nation. We owe them and their families so much. Second, a big thanks to Nikki Fried, Veterans Caucus President Danny Fuqua, and David McDonald for getting us all together. Since our time is short, I'll get right to it. Trump and Musk are still trying to gut veteran services with firings, contract freezes, and future staff cuts that could top 80,000. We're fighting it tooth and nail in Congress and the courts. And I just grilled VA Secretary Collins on it in the Milcon VA Appropriations Subcommittee, where my Republican chairman, Judge Carter, and the Republican full committee appropriations chair joined me to warn Collins that he cannot just move veterans funding around without congressional approval. Collins ducked and weaved, but we exposed their lawless actions and made clear that this is a hill we'll defend to the end. What I want to focus on, though, is this big, ugly bill that extreme MAGA Republicans rammed through in the middle of the night by one vote. As you all know, it's a naked billionaire bailout and tax scam. The richest 10% get 52% of the tax cuts, and working folks get just $1 a day if you make $50,000 a year or less. Just appalling. But the version House Republicans barely passed in the dead of night has more traps in it for veterans. It inflicts the deepest nutrition assistance and healthcare cuts this nation has ever seen, ever. Children and seniors need food assistance, but so do millions of veterans and struggling military families. It's even worse on healthcare. This big, ugly bill cuts $1 trillion from Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, and it inflicts higher premiums, shorter enrollments, and more paperwork. Nationwide, 14 million will lose coverage. That's nearly 70,000 in my district alone. Worse, it goes after Medicare by blowing up the national debt by $2.3 trillion, which forces up to $500 billion in Medicare sequestration cuts starting next year. And because this big ugly bill would drive so many people off of Medicaid, Medicare, and the ACA, more veterans will need to return to the VA, making their care more constricted. So what can we do? As senators take up this monstrous legislation, let's blow up every Republican's phone in Congress. They need to feel the heat right now. And for later, we need to register everyone we can to vote, and just as importantly, reapply for your vote-by-mail ballot and get others to do the same. When we get VBMs in folks' hands, they're more likely to vote and to do it sooner. That allows us to stop chasing voters and focus on ones who may not show up. Look, I know it looks grim, but America survived darker chapters, and we still bent that arc of justice the right way. Let's stop agonizing and start organizing. I can't think of a more courageous crew to go to battle with than all of you. I'll see you all in the trenches.
Hi, shipmates. I'm Tom Keene, 21-year Navy veteran and former state representative, talking to you tonight from my home in Orlando. I want to thank all of the decorated service members and attendees on tonight's virtual call. It sure means a lot that you're here. As a proud veteran and former state representative, I'm deeply motivated by the meaning of public service and standing up for others' freedoms. But right now, that freedom is being stripped away. Celebrating our veterans means ensuring our voices are heard, not just online, not just in our communities, but literally at the ballot box. When we vote, organize, and lead, we honor the legacy of those who served before us, not just because they deserve it, but because that fight for freedom never ends. I hope that we not only celebrate veterans, but that we mobilize them too. I'm running for office again to continue that fight for freedom. Now, I'm asking all of you to join us in making calls, registering voters, and lifting the voice of leaders who truly value our service. Thank you, and have a great night.
All right, up next, our next speaker is going to be Supervisor Joe Scott. He oversees all elections in Broward County. He's a West Point graduate, but we won't hold that against him, and a Bronze Star recipient who served as an embedded advisor with the Iraqi Army. He's recognized for expanding access and transparency in voting. Please, everyone, welcome with me Supervisor Joe Scott.
Good evening, everybody. And Will, thank you very much for that warm introduction. And thank you to Danny Fuqua for inviting me to be a part of this tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all the Veterans Caucus members and talk about how it has been for me serving as a veteran here in Broward County. And I've been in office since 2020. And during that time, we've actually seen a lot of attacks on our election system. These attacks have caused it to be a lot harder for us not only to conduct elections, but for a lot of our voters to participate. The state of Florida has worked hard to make it more difficult for voters to vote by mail by making it a requirement for people to sign up for their vote by mail every election cycle. And saying that, please, if you haven't done so already, please do that and go ahead and request your vote by mail ballot for the upcoming election. It doesn't mean that you have to vote by mail. It's just a good idea to go ahead and request it. They've also made it difficult to return the vote by mail by making it hard for election offices to have drop boxes. So these are all things that we've had to battle against and fight and push back. Today, we're continuing this fight where there's a lot of uncertainty around some of the security, the cybersecurity measures that have been put in place over the last few years to make sure that our elections are secure. A lot of the resources that were provided to election offices by the federal government were cut recently because of some of these DOGE cuts. So a lot of the resources that we previously had in Washington to protect our election system have now gone away. Here in the state of Florida, Florida continues to attack democracy by just recently passing a bill that makes it much more difficult for people to do initiative petitions. So initiative petitions are a way that voters and activists can actively participate in democracy without being elected and part of the Florida legislature. So of course, the Florida legislature isn't too keen on having these initiative petitions available. They changed the law a few years ago to make it harder, and still we had some excellent citizen-led initiatives make it on the ballot this last cycle. So our Florida legislature came back for another bite at the apple this year, and they made it much, much, much more difficult for organizations to do this direct democracy. It's never been more important for veterans to be engaged in this process and engaged on the side that really believes in democracy. And that's what the Democratic Party brings to the table. This is the party that really believes in giving citizens a voice, letting citizens vote, letting citizens do initiative petitions, and having veterans and having people like us as part of this coalition and helping to drive this train is only going to help get our country back on the right track. So thank you all for everything that you're doing for this, for the state of Florida as veterans. And thank you again for having me on tonight.
You bet, Joe. And, if the legislature would just, pass the laws that the people of Florida actually want, we wouldn't have to always take matters into our own hands and do the citizen-led ballot initiative process. But thanks for keeping up the good fight in Broward and helping to make sure that everyone's got access to the ballot box and everyone's vote counts.
Thank you, Will.
You bet. And so, folks, last but not least, we promised that we were going to let you know how you could get involved and how you could support veteran and veteran issues here in Florida. So I'm going to be bringing up the vice president of the Democratic Veterans Caucus of Florida, Dr. Robert Llewellyn Johnson. He's a 34-year military veteran who served in both the Air Force and the Army. He's a retired senior chief warrant officer. He's awarded a Bronze Star for heroism in the first Gulf War. Dr. Johnson, I am pleased to turn the floor over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. Can you hear me? Here we go. All right. Thank you, Will, for the warm introduction. Thank you, Danny, for having me here. Again, I'm Dr. R. Llewellyn Johnson, PhD, JD. I'm a CW4P. I was boarded, the only JAG selected, and would have been the first and only African-American CCWO of the JAG Corps, but my selection was withheld for 3 months until I turned 60 and had to retire. So, I know it when I see it. I was born on a cotton farm in the 1950s. So I know it when I see it. That's neither here nor there. I was recently acknowledged as the Pinnacle Professional member of the Inner Circle of Excellence in Who's Who in America for my contributions in public service, advocacy, equal justice, and leadership. I'm a resident of Kissimmee, Florida, currently serving as the commissioner on the Osceola County Citizen Advisory Planning Committee, seeking election for the Florida House of Representatives, District 46 for 2026. I ran in 24 and I lost by 900 votes, and I'm hoping that things are better this go around. Additionally, I'm both the founder of the Florida Coalition to Prevent Veterans Homelessness and the executive director of the Mercy Foundation Homeless Veterans Program. In the U.S., there are 32,882 veterans that are experiencing homelessness and 2,279 veterans in Florida that are homeless. The suicide rate for the year of 2022 among veterans was 6,407 veterans per day that died of suicide. There's not a military veteran holiday that passes that I don't think of the screams and the cries of my 28 soldiers whose lives I couldn't save as a first responder in the 1991 Iraqi Scud missile attack in Saudi Arabia. I was a first responder. I couldn't bring them home. So thanks to all of you guys and girls for your commitments. Every action makes a difference. And I'm sharing ways you all can plug in and help keep your eyes on the chat for the important links that we are sharing. You can also scan the QR code you see on the screen next to me for immediate access. Please feel free to share. Through these links, connect with the Florida Democratic Party to prepare for the 2026 election and with the DVCF to engage with other veterans. Please join us in phoning veterans voters to help elect veterans who are running for the special elections that's coming up on June 10th. It's meaningful to a veteran to receive a call from another veteran. The phone banks are listed, and they're an easy way to reach these voters. We are a big proponent of the power of protest. Ways to engage in the upcoming D-Day and No King's Nation rally are listed again on the site, and we want you to make your presence known. If nothing else, wear your finger out, calling your elected official and give them a piece of your mind. We are veterans. We've been to war, we fight the war, and we're not afraid of combat. The Democratic Veterans Caucus of Florida is working hard to expand our organization, and we encourage you to organize in your counties. Contact us for help. You may even decide to run for office and serve our country once again. We need you guys and girls, and I'm planning to continue to serve my country, to help my veterans. The FDP and the DVCF will be behind you to assist you in your efforts 100%. Again, I hope to continue this work with you guys and gals. I'm turning it over to our DVCF President, Danny Fuqua. Hooah. Danny, you're on.
Thanks, Dr. Johnson. I appreciate that. I am not Danny Fuqua, but on behalf of the Democratic Veterans Caucus of Florida President, I want to thank everyone for being online with us tonight. We've got numerous county caucuses throughout the state that you can get engaged with. Make sure that you check out the QR codes and look at the link trees that are there. In addition to the 10 to 12 county caucuses that we already have stood up in places like Alachua, Brevard, Broward, Hernando, Lake, Osceola, Palm Beach, Pinellas, Seminole, and Volusia counties, we're also standing up county caucuses in Hillsborough, Orange, Miami-Dade, Polk, and St. Lucie counties. So plenty of places for all of the veterans out there to get involved. And if you have any direct questions for the Democratic Veterans Caucus of Florida, you can email directly Danny at dvcf.president@gmail.com. And we're going to drop that Gmail address in the chat, dvcf.president@gmail.com. And with that, we're going to pass it back to Chair Fried to close us out for the night.
Thank you again, Will, for moderating tonight. And thank you for everybody who joined us this evening. And of course, all of our speakers tonight. Tonight's program was based around a couple of things. We are building a community all across the state of Florida and all across the country, lifting up our veterans who have served our nation, who have fought in our wars, who have been willing to give the ultimate sacrifice to protect our liberties and to protect our freedoms here at home and abroad. As you also know, that there is plenty of our own Floridians who are serving in our military overseas. Also a request for them to get their vote by mail ballot. But tonight was an opportunity for us to create a community, to showcase all of our incredible vets, whether their personal stories, the things that lived experiences, and how we, as not only as Democrats, but as citizens, can not only say thank you, lean in, be understanding of what are the issues that our veterans are experiencing today, and making sure that their stories are on the front lines. Because if we're going to fight and defend our veterans who have done that for us, we make sure that the stories are from the heart, that we're all experiencing things differently, have different experiences with the VA. Some have had incredible experiences. As I've said, my family right now can't get through to the VA in order to get the services that my grandfather and my grandmother were promised. But it's also saying, how do we fight back? And how do we fight back? Is by getting involved, whether it is signing up for enlisting new volunteers, to getting the services that are needed for our VA, asking our veterans, what can we do in this moment to help support them? And it may be as simple as driving them to a VA, sitting outside and waiting for them to get through the VA and talk to their doctors or to their clinics. But this is a time that we all need to be coming together to lift one another up. We're all experiencing this current administration in different capacities, being also non-judgmental of each other's stories. We all have different paths that we go on, but it all got us here tonight to make sure that we are lifting up our voices, lifting up our veterans, thanking them for their service, and making sure that we are doing everything we can to support them, to make our country back to where we are recognizing and supporting our veterans and the work that they do every single day in our communities. So thank you for being here tonight. Make sure that tonight is not the last time that you are engaging with the Florida Democratic Party. Our Veterans Caucus, as you see, the QR codes are still online. Please get involved if you also want to run for office. This is a time where our veterans are stepping up and deciding to run from office, from school board all the way up to our governor and U.S. Senate candidates, making sure that we truly are building a community that is supporting each and every one of us. So thank you for being here tonight, and look forward to seeing you all soon.